Well, good afternoon, everybody. Chuck Holton here, and I'm headed out on a walk with my little friend Missy. She's my white-faced capuchin monkey. It's one of two that we own, and they're not good pets, I have to say. Missy and Mona, we've had them for 8, 9 years, I guess, and it's a lot more like being a zookeeper than being a pet owner. But Missy loves me, and so she likes to go for walks when I'm home. And she looks kind of mangy because these monkeys tend to over-groom real bad, and especially when they're captive and they are bored and don't have much to do, they tend to just sit and groom themselves to the point where they look kind of mangy, like see her tail there. Any place that she can reach, she will overgroom. Also, I've had them together for the last day or so, and when we put the two monkeys together, they groom each other to death. They would practically just groom all the hair off of each other. But she's a happy monkey, and she likes going for walks, and so we're going out for a walk today. It's about 75 degrees here in Panama. It's just after 4 p.m. and just getting kind of ramped up for the new year. I wanted to come on and talk about a few things. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world. And so, the question is, what do I cover first? What do I cover next? And what's most important? Now, I did a poll on my locals page over at chuckholton.com, and most of the majority of people said they would like to see me do more work covering Israel, the Israel war, and that is certainly worth covering. There's a whole lot going on over there. They had a big sort of escalation last night. I'll walk down this way. As Hamas fired, I think, 27 rockets that they fired off right at the stroke of midnight. Sort of a big middle finger to Israel, let them know that they're not done fighting. The footage that Hamas is releasing from Gaza shows that they are making the transition more from a sort of force-on-force, military versus military fight, to more of a insurgency now. And there's a lot of wind here, so I may have to... Hey, Jeff. How you doing? Good to see you. Happy New Year. So we're looking at more of an insurgency now. And what that means is that the tactics are changing that Hamas is using. They've always used sort of guerrilla tactics ever since the beginning of the war, but now they're resorting more to, rather than sending soldiers out to fight with the IDF, which is still happening, but just not as much, they're resorting more to the use of IEDs. And IEDs come in many forms. If you learned anything from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's that just about anything can be made into an IED, even a carcass of a dead horse, or a old donkey cart, or a kid's backpack, or a house, anything. And so the Hamas fighters are now resorting more to these different kinds of IEDs. Now, you can group IEDs into like 2 or 3 different categories. One would be command detonated. That is, they have an actual wire that runs from the IED to the user. And when the enemy is in the kill zone, you push the button and it blows up. That kind of IED is good for avoiding like jamming signals and that sort of thing, because hardwired detonator can't be jammed. And it also has a drawback because that means that the user has to be pretty close to the IED, and so he can be found and killed once that thing goes off more easily. So the other kind of IED is like a victim detonated IED, where the person who is that it's being used against actually sets it off by some sort of trip mechanism, whether that's a pressure plate or electronic sensor, whatever. You know, a lot of the houseborne IEDs that we're seeing are this kind of IED. So I'll talk about that more in a minute. And then you have like an electronically detonated IED that has maybe a cell phone or some sort of an electronic wireless mechanism to set it off. Those ones are not working too well in Gaza right now because of the incredible amount of jamming that's taking place in there. When I was last anywhere near Gaza, you get within a few kilometers of Gaza and your phone starts going wacky, your GPS won't work, things like that. So the big thing that they're starting to face now is these houseborne IEDs. And what that means, where they've wired the entire house to blow, they wait until the IDF enters the house, or they, somehow get them to enter the house, and then they detonate the house on top of them. They recently killed, I think, 9 IDF troops in one house by using one of those houseborne IEDs. And the only response to that, really, that the IDF can use is to just pancake the houses rather than clear them. You can clear a house by going in and checking each room and making sure that there's no terrorists in it, or you can just drop a bomb on the house and be done with it. And the IDF is going to have to opt for that second method more often now because of the use of these houseborne IEDs. The other thing is, it bears pointing out, is that Hamas, in their videos that they put out, as far as recruiting videos and their sizzle reels and that sort of thing, Hamas is always wearing a uniform. Their fighters are dressed up with camouflage, and they've got plate carriers and American-style weapons. But in reality, the Hamas fighters that they're coming across in Israel are wearing civilian clothes and carrying old or homemade weapons, Soviet-era weapons. And so that makes it very, very difficult, because if you're engaging in IED warfare, then you're not carrying around a weapon per se. You're just wearing civilian clothes. You're just a guy, and you're sitting by the side of the road, and you wait till you see the IDF go driving by, and you push a button, and the IDF gets vaporized, and then you get up and just walk around and, no, I'm a civilian, wearing civilian clothes. And the videos that they're putting out of the Hamas fighters actually fighting, you'll notice that they're all in civilian clothes. So I'm putting some of those videos up on my locals page. Just go to chuckholton.com. You can subscribe over there. Really appreciate those subscriptions, because YouTube has been demonetizing more and more of my videos lately. And while I try to get a handle on that, it's very nice to have actual supporters off of YouTube that YouTube can't take away or whatever. We've heard from a lot of people that have subscribed to my YouTube channel that they're being unsubscribed automatically and over again. I don't know what that's all about, but it is nice to have another medium that we can go to, and I can put up videos that would get me canceled on YouTube, but I can show you what's really happening on the ground over there. And so please go, and if you haven't yet, go and subscribe over on YouTube. On my locals page, chuckholton.locals.com, or just chuckholton.com. Takes you to the same place. Really, really appreciate that. Also, so I wanted to talk about the different places that I'll end up going. Right now, I have some work scheduled here in Panama on the immigration issue that will take place between now and mid-month, most likely. And so you'll be hearing me reporting from the Darien Gap before too long, and talking about the massive waves of record numbers of people who are coming through the Darien Gap from Colombia into Panama on their way to the United States. And so that's already scheduled. That's got to happen first half of this month. I'm also making a quick 2-day trip to Cartagena, Colombia, to check on the girls that we take care of there. Many of you have donated to help support them, and I certainly appreciate that, because it's been very expensive the last few weeks, as those single mothers have been arrested and put in jail because they are trying to make a living downtown in Cartagena, and having beggars down there. It's not illegal for them to work as prostitutes down there, because that's a profitable endeavor for the government, but it is illegal for them to go down there and beg for food or for money when they have their children with them. And so these mothers have been arrested by the government of Colombia and put in jail for trafficking their children, even though they're actually doing everything they can to keep from their kids being trafficked. But anyway, it's kind of a messed up situation. And so we've had to pay for lawyers and pay for another place to live for the children. There's over a dozen children that are now without their mothers, and also pay for the mothers to get food while they're in prison, because if nobody pays for them to get fed, they don't get fed. And so it has been pretty expensive. We're going to go down there and try to work things out and get a better solution, and meet with a lawyer and all that in the 8th through the 10th. So we'll be doing some reporting on that from Colombia as well. So after mid-January, then I've got to figure out, what do I do next? What do I do? Are we back? Looks like we got bad connection there for a minute. There are so many places that I could go to report, and many of you have said that Israel is top on your list. So, when you do online research, you find that Americans typically care a lot more about immigration than they do about Israel or Ukraine or any of the other wars around the world. But many of you, my viewers, have said that Israel is something you want to hear more about. And so we are listening, and I'll make that a priority going forward. So how do I prepare for that? Well, I haven't been home much in the last 3 months, and I guess home is just wherever my wife is, and so I guess I could say I was home. We just moved to Israel for 3 months. But, preparing for where to go, I always sit down the last week of December and come up with a plan for how I want to accomplish my goals for the year. And I have it broken down into 7 different facets of my life that I write down goals for. And some people are really against goal setting. I'm not. I think goal setting is vital. As one wise man said, that if you aim at nothing, you are sure to hit it. I'm going to try to aim at something at least. So I sit down and I look at my life from a spiritual standpoint and from a physical standpoint. I look at academic and social and relational and business and financial. Did I miss one? I think that's all of them. So it should be 7 total. And just go say, what do I want my life to look like by this time next year? And I look back at the year that I just completed and try to see how I've done with last year, and try to make adjustments and figure out how I want to, what does success look like? I think in any conflict, we have learned over the last 2 decades that if the generals in charge don't have a very clear picture of what victory looks like, you will never win the war. Not having a clear picture of victory means losing. And I think it's the same in my life. So I try to lay out a clear picture of what victory looks like for me this year. What does it look like to work as unto the Lord? What does it mean to be humble in my everyday life? Especially as, my life gets crazier and crazier, and I get hundreds of emails from people, and I get stopped in the street and by people I don't know. And, what is a godly way to handle that? And so I really wanted to sit down and ponder that and pray about it and contemplate what that looks like, what success looks like in this realm as my life changes. And so I would submit to you that you should do the same thing. I don't care if you're, 17 or 70. We can all, if you woke up this morning, obviously God has a plan for your life. He has something he wants you to accomplish today. And the question is, how can I best serve my Creator and fulfill the destiny, the purpose for which I was created in my everyday life? What does that look like in my finances? What does that look like in my relationships? What does that look like with my kids? What does that look like for my physical body? And so this year, I'm trying to read more. I read about 54 books last year. I'm going to try to read a few more than that this year. At least one a week is a good goal, but I accomplished that last year by listening to lots of audiobooks, and I'm going to try to best it this year. I tend to double up on some of those things, so instead of it's like saying I'm going to spend an hour reading, I'm going to spend an hour going for a walk. I'll go for a walk and listen to an audiobook at the same time and kill two birds with one stone. If I want to spend more time with the monkey, then I can carry her along while I go for that walk. And there we go. So, it's just a matter of actually writing those down, spending some time contemplating on them, and finding out what does my best life look like, being that I am submitted to Christ, and my job is to serve him and to help build the kingdom through what I do as a vocation. She's very aggressive. If she sees anybody around, she starts baring her teeth. So we'll go this way so she doesn't attack somebody. Missy is actually, she looks pretty chill, but she's actually really aggressive. And if somebody comes running up to me while I've got her, she will jump at them and try to rip their face off. She's actually pretty dangerous. You see those teeth that she's got, and you can imagine what she could do with those teeth if she got mad at you. You wouldn't want that to happen. So I would be interested to know what some of your goals are for this year. And I'm going to be doing a live over on the CBN YouTube channel tonight about the conflicts that we are seeing around the world as 2024 opens, and what we will probably see in terms of conflict throughout the year, what I think that may lead to, and whether or not we'll see world war in 24. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that. Probably about 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll go live on CBN News and we'll talk about the upcoming conflicts. Now, I wanted to point out that there is so we have these 3 trips going to Armenia this year that are already full. We did have a couple cancellations, but we've got a bunch of people on the waiting list, so they're full. We don't have any space left on those trips. So we're trying to open up more space somehow. There were people who were asking about a more active trip, and my son Nathan loves to backpack and trek and camp all around Armenia. He lives in Armenia. And so we're putting together a trip that's contiguous or right next to the May trip. So right at the end of the May trip, there's going to be an addition that goes on there that can be a separate trip if you didn't make the May trip, or if you're on the May trip, you can go along as well. That'll be 10 days of trekking around Armenia. Armenia is a lot like Switzerland in many ways. The mountains are incredible. The scenery is out of this world. It rivals anything that you would see in Europe. And so we're putting together a little bit less expensive trip that will give you a chance to really experience nature in Armenia in a way that very few people ever get to experience it. We're talking about off trail, out in the middle of nowhere, wilderness kind of stuff with some views that will absolutely be once in a lifetime opportunities for you. I guarantee you, if you make this trip, you will be the only person you know, most likely, who has done anything like the adventures that we're putting together. There is caving. We're looking at some ancient villages that have never been, really cataloged or anything like that. And along with some more comfortable, nights in between, we're going to hit various different parts of the country. And so it's not just all 10 days like out in the weeds in one place, but we're going to go to several different places around Armenia and give you a chance to rest in between, and then have a nice rest day on the end, do some souvenir shopping before you go home. So if you're interested in that backpacking trip, you can let me know at hotzoneholton@gmail.com, or you can just go to holton.com, and here shortly after I finish this live, we'll put the link to that trip up with some pictures and some more information about costs and everything like that. So if you're into backpacking, hiking, we're not going to make it killer. It's not going to be, something that will murder you. But if you're a fairly active person, you'll enjoy it a lot. And again, you'll get some memories that nobody else will have, for sure. So we're gonna put those up shortly. Also, we are going to run a May shooting course at Maple Fork Lodge with Tim Miller, who has been on the podcast here multiple times. He's one of the most highly trained and very professional former Secret Service agent, former cop, former Marine, federal agent. And we're bringing a bunch of guys from Delta Force in as instructors, and the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. And we're going to do a very high-end, not just a firearms course. This is not like your basic firearms safety course. This is the kind of course that would take you from being a range shooter to a survivor on the street. Again, if you're getting trained by Delta Force, these guys fire over 1 million rounds every year. And they are literally the Olympic athletes of the shooting world, the best shooters on the planet. And so just to get the chance to hang out with them for a weekend would be worth a lot of money. But, you'll get to stay with them at the lodge, eat with them, and pick their brains. We're going to have not only the outdoor range component of, firearms training and that sort of thing, but they're also bringing a Milo range training system, which is a $70,000 video laser trainer system that they've set up in the basement, and you can spend all night going through, you can spend all night going through scenarios that are very realistic, that will, again, they have scenarios where you're at a gas station and there's a armed robbery. You have scenarios of school shootings, church shootings, crazy people in the street, all sorts of stuff. And it leads to some of the best education, not just on how to shoot, when to shoot, where to shoot, stuff like that, but on what happens after you shoot? What happens if you have to shoot? What's the legalities surrounding this stuff? It's very, very good training. I've been through it several times myself, and I can tell you, having been to most of the firearms training available in the United States today, because I worked for the NRA for 6 years, and that's one of the things they did, is they sent me out to all these different trainings. I can tell you that this is the best training that you will find with the best trainers in the world. And so we're going to set that up for the second weekend of May. If you're interested in that, we don't have the page up yet, but just send me an email, hotzoneholton@gmail.com, and we will send you information about that shooting weekend at Maple Fork Lodge. So I highly recommend that for sure. So again, if you have not gone and subscribed over at chuckholton.com, I'd appreciate it if you do that. Also like and subscribe these videos and share them with people, and then that hopefully shows YouTube that what I'm sharing is worth sharing, and will help grow the channel as well, help us show this content to more people. And Missy says, please subscribe. No, she doesn't. She, when she sees herself in the phone, she gets mad and she starts baring her teeth. Right now she's looking at birds up in the tree. You're trying to buy one of those cell phones? You can Google Eric Prince cell phone and it'll tell you. It's called I think the Unphone or something like that. Well, we are in Panama, so the cellular service is not the best. And it's a very, very busy weekend up here in our little valley, because it's actually the busiest weekend of the whole year. This valley only has about 6,000 people that live in it full time, but it has infrastructure and homes for 30,000 people. And that's because this is kind of like Aspen, Colorado for Panama. It's a place where all the wealthy, famous people come and get their summer homes because it's close to the city. It's up in the mountains, so it's 75 degrees instead of 95 degrees. And it's a great place to go for a weekend in the summer. So this weekend, all the people come up, and so all the homes that are normally empty are now occupied. There's parties going on everywhere. The main street is a madhouse. The grocery store is insane. And so I just stay on these little back streets and go for my walk with Missy. She doesn't like people very much other than me. And so if I get around where there's too many people, she really starts freaking out. Well, she wants to go for a walk. You want to get down? Want to get down? Come on. Come on. Nope, she doesn't want to get down. She only wants to get down if I don't tell her to get down. You want to get down? She sees us coming back home. So, like I said, this year is going to be lit. I've got opportunity in February to go to Burma, and then I have a trip to Armenia in March, and then probably go to Israel straight from there again. I may go to Israel before then as well. And of course, I probably should get back to Ukraine at some point. There's a lot of stuff going on over there. And I think that it's very likely that I may end up back in Taiwan again. China is threatening pretty heavily. They're starting to make noises that are the kind of noises that normally precede an invasion. And so I think it's likely that China may be moving to take Taiwan because they know the Western world is probably as distracted as it's ever going to get at this point, with Ukraine and Israel all popping off, and the they're going to want to, China is going to want to make a move. If they're going to move on Taiwan, they're going to want to make that move before the election, just in case Donald Trump gets reelected. They want to obviously make a move like that while there's a weak U.S. presidency. And so that's why I think it's probable, likely, that we're going to see something happening between China and Taiwan, and maybe even Japan, in the coming year. And so we're going to be keeping a close eye on that, and you should be too. Be praying for Israel and for Ukraine and everywhere else. And so that's all I've got for today. Thank you very much for watching. And again, please subscribe and like that sort of thing. And again, I'll be back on in about an hour and a half on CBN's YouTube channel doing a live about more about the global threats and what we might expect to see in 2024. So again, go over to chuckholton.com. I'm going to be posting those videos I talked about over there and the website and everything for the trips. And I hope you can join us on one of those trips. It'd be fun to meet more of you. I'm really excited that we've got 3 full trips going to Armenia in May, June, and September. And so this 4th trip that we're opening up to go backpacking in Armenia is another opportunity for you to join the group this year. So God bless you all, and we'll see you in an hour and a half or so on CBN's channel. Take care.